It looks like we're live. Hello. There's always that little pause at the beginning. I want to make sure
It
that...
looks like we're live.
Oh, hold on a second.
Hello.
There we go. So welcome to Juku Christie's Business English Q&A. If anybody tuned in last week, that was my introduction to this new course that I'm going to be using the YouTube live event option here. And I'm learning how to do the live event. And I wanted to try and see how I can best see who's watching, if anybody has any comments. So I will try and get better with that as time goes on. Anyways, welcome to another day. It is Monday, where you can catch this business Q&A live, 10 p.m. in Japan. It is 3 p.m. in Paris and 9 a.m. in New York City. If you can't catch it live, it will always be logged in and saved on my Juku Christie YouTube channel, so you can catch these at any time that you're able to log in. Anyways, today I wanted to start off by saying thank you to people who sent in questions. I had a few responses, a couple of people that I know won't be able to catch this live show, but had some questions they wanted to throw into the collection box. I also had a couple of questions come in that I thought were really high level, advanced business English. So I might save those for later, when we're maybe getting into some real specialty vocabulary and things like that at a higher level. Today, I wanted to start off with a question that has something to do with something we all need to think about, and it is communicating on the phone. I think in any language, we tend to differentiate. When we speak to someone face to face, it's a little bit different than when we speak to someone on the telephone, and that's a little bit different than how you send an email to someone. And so I think in any language, we have a little bit of a difference between those things. As time goes on, I'm sure we will hone in and look at each of those with different specific questions. And today, I want to look at one simple thing to consider when it comes to speaking English on the phone in a professional context. So the question that came in was someone who says they speak English pretty well, but when they're on the phone, sometimes they don't understand what the person on the other end of the line said. So someone is speaking English into their phone, and they're trying, and they said, how can I tell them that I don't understand? How can I ask them to say something again in a way that is polite? Great question. I think that when we learn a language and when we teach English, I think the phrase we learn is what? Could you repeat that, please? The word repeat means to say something again or do something again. And that does sound kind of textbooky. So I was trying to think of a simple way, sort of a tool to give someone to consider. So if you're on the phone and you need to ask someone to say something again or help you understand, what would be a good way to handle that problem? Now, first of all, of course, there probably are millions of ways to answer this. But let's try and focus in on one way that is simple. It would depend on who you're speaking with, your clients, your boss, how polite this has to be. But let's just consider a simple way to get someone to alert them that you didn't understand what they said and you want them to say it again. Getting back to my subject of not being very savvy here with the live events, I need to figure out how to put text across the screen so that you can see things. I'll get better at that. Today it's pretty simple, but you'll find I'll put a link below, and on my website, Juku Christie, I will do a blog post. Each week I'm going to post a blog post that links up with this weekly live event where you can see a text version of the vocabulary or sayings or whatever tips I'm going to give out. So at jukuchristie.com, on the blog, you will find a blog post for each of these live events. Today, I will just be speaking and you'll have to listen. And you can go look at my website if you want to see it written out. So the simple answer that I came up with, if you're on the phone, you don't understand what someone is saying. So you're speaking with a client or you're speaking with maybe your boss, but you're on the phone. I think the best thing to do would be to start off by saying, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, or I couldn't hear you. There's sort of two things here. Let's just make it simple. I'm going to go straight. So I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Could you say that again? So instead of repeat again. So I'm sorry. Another thing that I would probably do would be instead of admitting that I didn't understand the English, I might just say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Could you say that again? And that would imply more that you didn't catch it on the phone, you didn't hear them, and so they'll probably say it again. Now there's a couple different ways of putting that, and I might put some other options when I'm writing it down. I don't want to get too confused, but I think pausing the conversation by saying, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you say it again? Or, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that. Could you say it again? There are some ways that are a little bit more casual. I might say, like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. You know, anybody who likes baseball, you throw a baseball, you catch a baseball. If someone's saying something and you don't hear it, you could just say, I didn't catch that, which means your ear didn't catch the meaning. So instead of saying, I don't understand, you could say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again? What I then, the next step would be, what would you do if they say it again and you still don't understand? I think that is very possible. You have to listen carefully, and there are times when you are on the phone and you really still don't understand. Really, this could merit more of a conversation, maybe when we have more people logged in and get some chat going. But my feeling on that is, depending on the situation, but I think what I might do is I think I would admit, I might say, oh, sorry, my English isn't so good. Could you say that in a different way? I didn't quite understand. Like, I'm not quite understanding. And then maybe they'll say it in a different way. So they might be able to help say something in a way that you can understand. It's kind of a simple question, like, how do you get someone to say something again on the phone? Although the answer, of course, gets complicated depending on who you're speaking with, how polite you need to be, kind of what the mood is of the person on the phone. I work not just in teaching, I also work as a recruiter. So I spend a lot of my time on the phone professionally. And I find that for me, being kind of friendly and like, oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Or that often works well if you are humbling and you kind of make them feel like, oh, I want to help you. For example, recently I was speaking with the secretary of someone, and the person I was trying to leave a message for had a very difficult name that I could not pronounce. And they were saying it to me. They wanted me to write it down. And it was clear that I couldn't quite understand what they were saying. So this just happened to me recently. And I found that I just laughed and I said, I'm sorry. I said, that's really a difficult name. I'm really having trouble. Can you spell that for me? And because I laughed a little bit and admitted that I was having trouble understanding, she laughed and said, it is a difficult name. Yes, of course. And she helped me understand. So I think there's two different ways of approaching this problem. if you're on the phone and you don't understand something, one, there's the language, the words, but there's also just the attitude. I think you need to relax a little bit, maybe laugh a little bit to get over and get the communication up and running. That might not always work. If it's a very important boss and a very important call, then we might need to get something a little more tight and what's the word I'm thinking of? Polite. The word polite. But I think to say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it again? Is an excellent tool to have in your brain for times that you don't understand something. So that was a question and my quick answer to get this new course up and running, Business English Q&A. I need you to send in questions so that I can provide the answers. So the way this works, a little reminder, if you didn't see the introductory course, there is the introductory course from last week, which is in here on my YouTube channel. This is a free weekly event where I hope we can get together and help uncover what is confusing or challenging about communicating in a professional setting with business English. So it's a safe place where you can ask the questions and we'll sort of share the questions and answers in a community here of people who speak English as a second language, who want to improve their business English. So please submit questions to me. I will put the link below in a comment. You can submit questions at questions@jukuchristie.com. And you can always find out more information at my website, jukuchristie.com. I have other classes available. I have some small group classes that I really love teaching, and this is my new experiment to do a group class open to everyone, using YouTube's live event as a nice tool to reach out to more people. So thank you for tuning in. I look forward to getting your questions so that I can help you with the answer. And remember, Juku Christie, it is your favorite place to practice English. I look forward to seeing you next week. Monday is a weekly live event, 10 p.m. in Tokyo, 3 p.m. in Paris, and 9 a.m. in New York City. See you then. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.